This time on Rad Rat Video, we're talking about whether you can fix razortail with sawdust and super glue. Welcome back to Rad Rat Video, a channel about skateboarding in all of its forms. I like to talk about it here on the channel and play skateboarding video games and other things like that. Subscribe if that sounds like something you would like to see more of. Today I'm answering your questions. These were all submitted by going to radratvideo.com and filling out the form on the homepage. First question is from Holden a Fart, who says, I didn't notice that when I was compiling these. Ever since I was a kid, my favorite style of skating to watch has been vert. Obviously, it hasn't been as popular in the last decade. Do you think it has a chance of a resurgence in popularity? Is that something you would like to see happen? I would. I've always really liked watching the vert competitions because when you watched street, and I really don't watch street league and stuff like that, but back in the day when you would watch like a park contest or the Do Tour or the X Games or something like that, all of the street and park skaters would always bail. You know, like the winning run, you might bail a couple times and pick up your board and run up a ramp and drop back in and get back in the flow. On vert, it was like you had to do a perfect run to win. And I always liked that. It can make it a little bit boring because they'll do a safety run where they do all the normal tricks and that'll secure them in the top 10 and then maybe step up a couple tricks here and there. But for some reason, just the way that it flowed and the way that this run was 1 minute and then it was over, then the next guy drops in, I really liked the way that worked. And so I've liked watching vert for that reason. I like vert parts more, like seeing, you know, the very top end. What was Bob Burnquist doing in 2004? Like that's the kind of, I would love to watch those types of parts. But watching vert contests was always really cool too. So what would it take for that to get popular again? I think it has to be contests. I think it would be really tough to build a name in vert right now, filming for Instagram or making a part, like making a vert part now. I'm not sure a lot of people would go out of their way to watch it, you know. It could be great and maybe it would take off, but it feels a little bit tougher. I think that it would have to be through contests again, but the contest would have to be more interesting. If, like one thing that's boring about vert is it's always the same thing. It's always vert wall. Maybe there's a channel on this side. Maybe there's an extension on that side. And that's about it. But how could you make it more interesting? Maybe, like I've seen a vert ramp with a hip in it. That could be kind of cool. You could do something like that. You know, weird kind of extensions that have different ways to grind. There's like a pool coping section and then like a rail that kind of does this. I don't know, you know, some kind of weird design of the ramp, and every year it's different. I think that would be a way to keep it fresh and keep it interesting to watch for people who aren't super into skateboarding, because that's kind of an important part of it. If you like to watch it when it's on TV and that's it, it's got to appeal to those people too. And that brings in the money, and then that brings in more people who want to be vert skaters, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's the way for it to happen. And I hope that it does, because I do really enjoy watching vert. The next question is from Sam, who says, I recently suffered a severe ankle injury and I've been out of commission for the last couple of months. I've been doing some physiotherapy to get me back to normal, but I was wondering if there were any exercises or tricks you could recommend to ease me back into skateboarding once I'm ready. My physio has been really helpful, but he's not a skater, so I was wondering if there was anything you could recommend for skateboarding specifically. How do you ease yourself back into skateboarding after an injury or a long absence? I think trick selection is very important. So I broke my ankle once. It was technically a sprain, but it was so bad that the doctor said it would have healed quicker if it broke. I think it took about a year for me to just not worry about it at all. It was my left ankle, which is my front foot, my flicking foot. And it got to a point after, 6 months or something like that, it was fine. I could walk around, I could live my daily life, and I didn't feel like it never was sore at the end of the day. Everything was totally fine. Then I would try a kickflip, and I would feel it tear in there. And it was just horrible. So, I did that a couple of times. That's why it took so long to heal, because I'd keep feeling that it was fine and doing a kickflip. So it depends which ankle it is for you. I don't know if it's your front or your back, but, yeah, for me, I really got into foot plant stuff, bonelesses and no complies, like some really terrible ones, admittedly, but, it was just fun. So I got more into doing that type of stuff when my ankle wasn't working because it was safe. I could do that stuff all day. And with that specifically, if you like plant your foot, the board starts to flip and it doesn't look like it's going to come around, you can just not jump. You can just like plant your foot and then let the board do its thing and then try again. So it's much safer. You're not as likely to fall and you're not doing any flick action on your ankle. Of course, it depends what your injury is like, but I would definitely wait until it feels totally fine and then wait like another month at least just to be safe. You sent this question a while ago, so hopefully that's what you did, but those are my suggestions for everyone else. All right, next question is from Chad, who says, Mob or Jessup? I'll go with Jessup. Venture or Indy? I'll go with Indy. I know I've told the story before, but my friend Tony, he used to skate his Ventures a lot, and one time he did there's two different trucks that he broke. There was Titan TI Lights were the other one. I don't remember which was which, but he did like a flat ground heel flip, landed, kick turned, and the truck just stayed in place. Like it didn't kick turn with the board. It just like sheared off. I'm sure the trucks are great now, and I've said this before, but if I had to choose one, I would never choose a Venture, just having seen them fall apart like that. All right, the last question is from Philip. Hey, what do you think about repairing a razor tail with sawdust and super glue? Have you heard about it? Here's a video of a guy showing it. So yeah, what he does is he just makes like a paste out of sawdust and super glue and just rubs it on the tail of his board, and it kind of like thickens it up so it's not so bad anymore, and then it lasts for a while again. I am very much surprised that would work at all. I really don't feel like that would be a really good way to go. I believe the guy who made that video skates freestyle, in which case I'm not sure it's necessary. For freestylers, most of us use skid plates because the only downside to a skid plate is that you don't get as much pop. But if you're doing freestyle, you don't really need pop. And it helps hold your foot in position for Caspers anyway. So for freestyle, you can just throw that on there. If you skate street, though, I definitely wouldn't bother. There are a couple of things that came to mind that you could do, though. There is a brand called Tip. Their website is tiptechnology.com. It says it's down for temporary maintenance right now, but I suspect that they're not in business anymore. They haven't posted anything on their Facebook was like last year. So I don't know if they're still in business. I don't know if it just happens to be down right now or if it's down for good, but you may be able to find their stuff on eBay or anything anyway. But what it is like, make a normal skate deck, like regular street popsicle deck, and they kind of like take off some on the top and the bottom of the tail, and there's like a replaceable plastic tip that you put on it. And as the tip starts to wear down, you just take that tip off and put a new one on it. And I've always thought that was a really good idea if that's a big problem for you. For me, like by the time the board is getting like that, it's probably also kind of soggy, like it's worn out in other ways than just the tails, for me anyway. So I never bought one. I've never skated them before, but that seemed like a better solution. I think it was an extra $5. The board is like $56 or something like that. So you're not paying that much extra, and then you can replace the tips and basically have a new board all the time. So if that's a major problem for you trying to experiment with sawdust, try it. There's not much of a downside to it. You can buy a bottle of super glue for a couple bucks. You might as well try it, but I feel like something like that would be better. Then again, they may be out of business. The other one I found that is actually available is the new Slate 3 board from Live. They claim right on the page that it is 20 times more resistant to razor tail than a normal board. So that might be a better way to go. Those boards are, of course, much more expensive, but it's not just more resistant to that, it's also stronger. I feel like those boards will basically last forever. I've never skated those again. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not sponsored by either of them or anything like that. But yeah, those seem like they would be a really good way to go if that's a major problem of yours. It makes more sense to buy one board that costs quadruple what a normal board does and then never have to buy one for years, Yeah, I would like to get one and actually skate it and test it out for myself. But yeah, I haven't done that yet. So that's what I would do. Trying to reduce the wear on your tail can be tough, because sometimes you just can't do anything about it. Where I used to live, my driveway where I skated all the time was super rough. So if I ever dragged the tail at all, or just doing tricks, especially pressure flips, those really drag for a second before you get off the ground. You just leave, you could see like a tan line on the ground where the tail touched, and it just rubbed off on the ground as you were getting off the ground. So sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it. If you drag your foot to stop instead of dragging the tail, like that kind of stuff can help. But at some point, there's really nothing else that you can do about it. So yeah, if you want to try that, go ahead. I feel like there are some better options, though. I'm sure there are more. I did some research to find those two, and that was all I could find. I know there used to be more options back in the day. Maybe this was a bigger deal back when I first started, but you used to be able to buy a board out of titanium, like the actual deck. Maybe it wasn't titanium. It was solid metal anyway. I don't remember which metal for sure, but yeah, like that was super risky though. I never bought one. Imagine doing like a 360 shove it and it hits your shin, like you're dead. And if that gets sharp, then it's like an actual razor. So yeah, go ahead and experiment. But that's what I know about preventing razor tail. Some people in freestyle would put shugu on the tips of the tails too, but that's more if you're like doing a pogo and you don't want the tail to split. So that's it for that. If you've got your own questions, go to radratvideo.com and submit them there on the homepage, and I'll be looking forward to getting that. Got a handful of them. Had quite a few come in last time, but I'm always happy to get more. So go ahead and send those. Make sure you subscribe if you like the channel. You can support it either through Patreon or through the join button here on YouTube, and I will see you next time. Thanks for hanging out.